Day two of U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's trip to China. She's making her case on behalf of American businesses. She criticized during her visit the Chinese government's actions against U.S. companies and new export controls on two critical minerals used in technologies like semiconductors. But she also emphasized the importance of healthy economic competition between the two countries. For more insight on this, let's bring in Longview Global's managing director and CNBC contributor, Dewardrick McNeil. Dewardrick, nice to talk to you today. There you are, over my shoulder. So do you think that this issue of protecting American businesses from government punitive actions in China is realistic? Do you think that there's anything the Treasury Secretary can do to make a difference?
Well, I think it's important, Contessa, that she did make this a big upfront feature of her trip. Look, I don't think that there's much that she could do to stop China from putting in place what they may see are the necessary tools to protect their own national security. Certainly, we see a lot of that happening here in Washington. I think for a Treasury Secretary to go over and make this point, I think is kudos to Yellen for making it clear to China that this is a problem for U.S. businesses and that she, who is considered to be more dovish on some of these issues, is prepared to speak up on this. So I think kudos to Yellen for making those statements.
It seems like she's on a very high wire act here. On one hand, trying to enforce what clearly is a priority for the Biden administration in terms of getting tough with China on a lot of different ways that China's actions have threatened national security. And then on the other hand, encouraging China to communicate and cooperate and keep moving forward for the global economy. How important is it that we are starting to see a thaw in these relationships?
Well, I want to take this in stride because I think you're absolutely right, Contessa. This is a tough job. She actually has an audience with the Chinese government and trying to move the ball there. But to your point, her colleagues in the Biden administration, many are not where she is with respect to China. So in some ways, this is definitely a tightrope where she's balancing views and the Biden administration with those in China. But on this issue of thaw, I think it's important that I push back a little bit on the prevailing narrative here around a thaw. I think the business community certainly wants this to be a thaw. But if you talk to many in the Biden administration, Contessa, they see this as a continuation of an attempt to put in place the guardrails that they think is necessary as we move deeper into competition. So not a thaw in the sense that this is going to return to the days or the era where cooperation and engagement underpin the relationship, but this is perhaps the Biden administration way of testing this proposition around guardrails as we try and compete.
Dewardrick, as I read some of the commentary that is coming out from this visit, I sense that there's a lot of nice talk. There's the idea of resetting the more normal economic relations between China and the United States. But talk, as they say, talk is one thing, action is another. And I can well imagine that the Chinese see a lot of U.S. actions and go, how sincere are you with all this talk about resetting our relationship when you're putting in semiconductor controls and other potential controls and you're putting tariffs on our goods? How what do you mean reset? You're being aggressive with us.
Well, Tyler, I think you hit the nail on the head here in terms of China challenging the sincerity of this notion of a healthy, these are Janet Yellen's words, economic relationship. But look, I think it's important for us to realize that both of these governments are putting in place what they believe to be protections for national security that in some ways will continue to trump development and economic growth. And so I think that is the reality of where we are, Tyler. But I do think it's important that the Chinese take Yellen at her word. And this is Wimbledon week, so meet her at the net and show after this meeting is over that they are prepared to do some things to find common ground and to find ways to cooperate. But to your point, Tyler, the proof happens after the meeting with the action. And at the moment, I see on both sides a lot of national security related, competition related policy action still in the pipeline. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet here, Tyler.